Coming through here. I love technology.
Woman Ingie. I'd like to pay our respects and acknowledge where we're meeting today, and we're meeting on Gunai Kurnai country. And
Just a really sense of appreciation and welcome to you for coming. Some of you come long distances today, and we don't really all want to be here under these circumstances. But coming together like this, it plays a really important role. It's a way of honouring Craig's life, of giving weight to the loss that he is, to helping each other, the process of grief, to share that together today. So thank you for being here. That song we began with, Pink Floyd, it was, I think, the guitar solo in that Craig really loved. And in 1988, at 20 years of age, Craig actually went to a live Pink Floyd concert here in Australia. And that guitar solo is his favourite, and I think it's a pretty good guitar solo, actually, myself, you know. At the end of the service today, we're going to wheel out Craig's coffin. That will be taken away to a private cremation. But you're invited to stay and hang around and have a coffee, tea with each other. But if you don't know somebody, if someone, you think, how does this person fit into Craig's world and his life? Well, go and introduce yourself to someone you don't know and hear and swap stories, because that's what coming together's for. And today is like a melting pot of all the people that Craig's life touched. So if you don't know someone, just go and introduce yourself to them. Because there's just so many stories to be shared with Craig's life. But I just want to begin with a prayer. Father God, you promise to comfort those who mourn. Your Holy Spirit brings peace to our troubled hearts. And we aren't designed to do life in our own strength. Thank you for the bonds between family and friends. Thank you that you will never leave us or abandon us, especially when life hurts, when we feel overwhelmed, when you seem distant, but you're right here with us. I ask you today that with your presence, you administer to our grief and to our loss. I think Kathy asked me to help lead today because of my connection to Craig that began as a teenager. And we started a youth program in very beginnings of 1992, and Craig came onto our leadership team, but he was our creative genius. And he helped to set the culture. That youth program reached a lot of kids in this town with all sorts of different backgrounds. But to create an atmosphere where all these feral kids would come into, Craig played such a role. And I remember one day I said to him, I reckon if we could make a Coke can, like this huge big Coke can, just to fill up space. And so he grabbed a Coke can and a big piece of cardboard, and he just freehand drew this thing out. And I was shocked how he did it with such ease. And I think we've got a photo of that up there. That's the Coke can that he made and painted, you know. And then I had this idea that what if we put out the front of the building a great big mouth, and we put a door in that, and kids could walk through this and then go through a tunnel with UV lights and stuff, and away Craig went. And so that's making this door. Kathy, who showed us that photo, we've slipped past it, we don't need to go back to it, but she did make comment that the brush I was holding had no paint on it, which you're not meant to notice that detail. That was just for the photo. Craig did the work, right? And even there's a solid rock sign that he made out of polystyrene foamy stuff, and it was just he made and he set atmosphere with his gift. And there was one night when we had this idea that we would have a sort of a manhunt down the main street on a Friday night, and the youth kids of Benzo had to find the leaders. And so we had to go in disguise. So I think we've got a photo of Craig with his disguise. So that's Craig. And I had a beard back in those days, and I shoved tissue paper in my mouth, flogged someone's Harley, and I went in disguise like that too. So that's me. So yeah, I know, Tanya, it's a shock, isn't it? I know. All those years ago. Yeah. So that's part of my connection with Craig. And what we're going to do today, Craig lived a very different life in some ways, right? He never quite fitted where centre is, and so we want to honour Craig well today. And so what we're going to do, instead of a traditional eulogy, Kathy, do you want to come up? And Bruce, you don't want to come up, but you're going to come up, and we're just going to have a chat like we were having a conversation around the table in the family home. So thanks, Bruce. Yep. And so Kathy had this idea of, we started with a primary school story. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So when Craig was little, Craig was always incredibly creative, clear from a very early age. And he was in a class in primary school for gifted kids, gifted in art. And one of the things that this group did was they were taken to McDonald's. It was the 70s. They were taken to a McDonald's kitchen, which was incredible. They didn't do excursions in the 70s, so this class went, and they came back, and the art teacher said, here's the art room. You've got access to everything you want in here. Recreate something from the kitchen at McDonald's. Craig didn't want to do that. What a surprise. He grabbed a lump of clay and made a dragon. A perfectly intricate, delicate dragon that was just speak volumes of his expertise in primary school. Mum got rung up and said, he can't be in this class, he doesn't do what he's told. About a month ago, Craig bought me some art supplies and wrote me a note to thank me for everything. And he signed it off with, now go make dragons. And that's on the back of the card that we've handed out today. And this funeral's my first dragon. I didn't want to do a standard cookie cutter funeral. Well, they're not standard, sorry. But I just wanted it to present it a little bit different, to reflect Craig's uniqueness. I'm hogging the show a bit here, but I just... Thinking of one thing, he recently told me that he'd been seeing a psychologist, I think, and she, or he, described him as having endearing mad scientist syndrome. And that's Craig.
So Bruce, growing up with Craig, doing life with Craig as his brother, what are some of those memories, even say like at the farm, when you shifted out to the farm?
We all moved out to a house out at Johnsonville, Bunbury, 5 k's out of Johnsonville, with the Campbells, and we had a great time. You know, like Craig would disappear into his dungeon, into his bedroom, and create things, and we just can't remember seeing him around a lot those days. But he did get diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma while we were out there. And he struggled with that for some time. Obviously he recovered, because here we are today. They were good days. They were good memories.
And I think we've got a few slides up there of the farm, but Kathy, anything with the farm for you that you remember that stands out?
We just, as kids, we got a extra family. There was obviously Bruce, Craig and I, and then suddenly we got Charlie and Ali. For 4 years we lived with another family, and it was an amazing experience with 15 acres of not much else on there. We lived off the grid for 12 months before it was even trendy. Bruce and Craig and Charlie had to dig the hole for...
The hole.
There was lots of really pretty green patches in the paddock.
As you moved
We
the
called
hole
them
around.
rails.
Yes. But I did hear a story the other day of when Craig was sick out there that it was his turn to dig the hole and he didn't want to do it. And Ian stepped up and looked at him and said, "It's okay, Craig, I'll dig the hole." And I think it was the next day or very close to that Craig had Hodgkin's disease. And yeah, we were young. We don't remember much other than having a really good time. Charlie and Craig riding a bike down a hill and Craig's brakes failing.
Kingswood.
Yeah, it was a very special time where we all connected. Bruce, Craig and Charlie and I, and particularly Bruce and Craig and I, have always had a strong bond. We've never fought. We've always been a close family. And
Speak for yourself.
oh, well, I hate him. No,
No, seriously, we didn't fight.
it was good.
Then you shifted into Bairnsdale and became part of Bairnsdale OG in those days, New Life Family Fellowship.
Yep.
Boy, we come up with some weird names for churches, don't we? I know.
Yeah,
Red
what a
Gum's a
shocker.
good name.
Yeah.
No, don't you get personal.
Yeah.
So, but coming into town, becoming part of the life of that church, a lot of things revolved around musicals and solid rock, and
Yep.
and all of us were Charlie, all of us together, weren't we?
Yeah, very involved.
Yep. And so then, eventually, Craig shifted down to Mount Evelyn.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that.
He moved to Mount Dandenong to stay with family. It's patchy.
Yep, that's fine.
That was his life, not mine. And but he had a good friendship group down there, but he was still finding himself. Craig, with grandiose plans of being a famous artist, because he was incredibly talented, but he lacked the marketing skills, I guess. But he was had a good time then. I don't know a lot. I used to go down there and stay and hang out, but it was a small bit.
Yep. And then he came back to Bairnsdale. So Bruce, tell us a little bit about that.
He came back to Bairnsdale and started a business. Is this the right story?
That's the right spot. Yep.
It's the right spot.
Yes.
It was called Hyper Global Mega Omni Games. Okay. He was into tabletop gaming, and he had this ability to attract people of like mind to himself. Just amazing sort of stuff, and he was always creating there. He was always had some new idea, and we called them snots, the little tabletop things that he put on the tables, and he would create them from scratch often and paint them. Just amazing stuff. That was it was a period in his life, and it came to an end unfortunately. But yeah.
So do you want to tell how he ended up getting to RMIT, or am I jumping ahead a little bit?
No, it's appropriate now.
Yeah.
We'll do that bit.
Yeah.
It came to an end because Centrelink said, "Get off your butt." They said to him, "We're sick of giving you money and you telling us you have a business and you're not really doing anything." And, you know the story. And they said, "If you don't enrol in a course, we'll pick one for you." Craig panicked. He's like, "Oh, you're going to put me in accounting."
That's not entirely the right wording, but we can't use that. Yeah.
And that was his biggest fear, that he would end up in a course that Centrelink were making him do, and, it's like, if I don't do something, they're going to cut off my payments. So he put together a portfolio, and I may have some of this wrong, but it's how I remember him telling me the story. So he put together an art portfolio and was told to go to Box Hill TAFE, who was recognised as the arty TAFE. Went in there, they looked at his portfolio and said, what on earth could we teach you? You're amazing. We can't put you in a course because you're better than the teachers. And they said, go to RMIT. And I'm going to read you something that was written. Doesn't recognise my face today. By one of the guys there that is still a colleague and a good friend. In 2010, I was interviewing applicants for the Diploma of Product Design when the next person came in. A mature age student carrying one of those waxed cardboard boxes that you get fruit and veggies in, with an old t-shirt hanging over the rim and other items of odd clothing inside. Not a good start. He flopped onto a chair, and the first sound that came out of his mouth was black. It was so Craig. But we started chatting, and it very quickly became apparent that I was talking with someone on a similar wavelength. Then we turned to the box, and from under the protective coverings emerged such wondrous things. A giant battle toad with frighteningly impressive dental work. And I don't know how to... Is it a howdah? With a howdah on its back, crewed by mace-welding elves, a small division of trolls, and an assortment of mech warriors. All created by hand and intricately detailed, and not just painted, but detailed and weathered. He got in. Now, the story Craig tells me is that he got in, did the course. They actually said he was too good. Again, that his talent was amazing, and they put him in the course, and I'm going to show you one of his projects that he had to do. So the concept of this course was to create something from get it out of your head, put it on paper, and eventually make a 3D replica of it. So I think we used to call this the shopping trolley. That was Craig's euphemism for it. So he starts with his concept drawing, and it was a 3-wheel vehicle. That was where he was headed. And you can see Craig's style as he puts it on paper. Then he obviously dissects it. And we get to, again, more stuff that just falls out of his fingers. He had this ability it just fell out of his pen, and he says that. And he kept his drawings going, and I'm stalling a bit. There we go. When you get time, what he writes on there is then a 3D thing. And he told me that the only thing out of that he didn't craft himself was the tyres. Everything was crafted through, I assume, 3D printing. No, not back then. Foam. It was made out of foam, so yeah. And his favourite bit was the coffee cup holder on the inside, because every car needed a coffee cup holder. We heard the story that you guys wanted to give him 110% for this. It's probably not true. That's probably Craig just saying, I'm amazing. But this is just a snippet of his ability, his skill, his imagination, which was insanely Craig. And then after he finished this 2-year course, they said, from what I understand, is that we want you. We don't want to lose you. You're too talented. And they put him through another course which gave him the right to teach. And he's spent 11 years there, and made a new family. He found himself. He found where he belonged, doing something that he loved. He met Tim. I don't even know where you are, Tim. And had a side hustle with Tim doing miniature scenery for Wartop, the gaming thingy. And there's some up the back that Tim's brought for you to look at, his designs. We're so proud of what he achieved in the last 10, 11 years. He was so proud. And he said to me, I don't want to die. I've got too many ideas, too many more things I want to create. He wasn't ready. But he's left behind a huge legacy. The tributes on the Miniature Scenery Facebook page were just mind-blowing, and other tributes, and I've seen you guys post. I picked up his phone the other night and somebody had sent him a message to say goodbye, and I really wanted to type back, thanks mate. But I didn't.
So, yeah. Bruce, you got anything to add there? Because Craig really did find a family there, didn't he, at RMIT?
He did. He just...
Yeah. And fulfilment in what he was doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Just the way that he just found life with the things that he did and the passion of his heart and the friends that he made. He found an outlet for his willingness to teach and to take people onto himself. People of like mind. He found his family. The amount of work that he was able to produce in that time is nothing beside amazing. He was quick. He was just so proud of him. It's such a shame that he's just not going to be able to complete the things that he loved.
Kathy, take us to the 19th December, Melbourne Zoo.
Craig was a giver, and he just he messaged me one day and he said, I've got news and it's really exciting. And you know, when you're going through chemo and cancer, your brain just goes, yeah, really? And he goes, oh, not that exciting. But his friend Ben, who works at the Melbourne Zoo, had offered to give us a personal tour through the zoo. It was the 19th of December, so Craig was probably sicker than what we realised. We got a wheelchair and Ben took us through, and it was such a highlight. Craig was just loved it. We had a personal tiger experience, which was we were up close and personal instead of standing at the enclosures going, I think it's over there. Well, Ben had got us right up close and personal, and it was a very special day. I think we spent 5 hours maybe. So grateful for that time, and not knowing that was basically the last time that Craig went to go out, because that was the day after we went to the zoo. I drove him back to Bensdale, and that was, yeah.
Bruce, just winding up this part, is there anything you want to add about doing life as a brother to Craig?
Craig was unique in his life attitude and the way that he went around about things. I have many, many great memories of a childhood and sitting down and just watching a movie with him, and then him picking it apart. The things that I would just accept, he would go, no, that uniform's wrong, or all that sort of stuff, or that U-boat's just not a U-boat. They've just dressed up something else, I'd get frustrated because I just wanted to enjoy the movie. But anyway, look, the last couple of months have been interesting with us going backwards and forwards to Melbourne. The chemo was... they filled it up full of... what did they fill it up full of? The steroids. And man, he would talk the ears off a donkey. Unbelievable. But the amount of stuff that he unloaded and told me and talked about in that time was just gold. You just wouldn't have it any other way. You know,
there was a real closeness you built in that time, wasn't there?
There was.
Yeah. And for you too, Kathy.
We also built a lot of Lego.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So is there anything you want to add till we wind this bit up?
I think Bruce has said it perfectly.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is just have a slideshow, and we can get to see some of those things for ourselves. Yep, thanks.
Thanks.
Yep.
Are we done?
Up forever to touch you, 'cause I know that you feel me somehow. You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't wanna go home right now. And all I could taste is this moment, and all I can breathe is your life. And sooner or later it's over, I just don't wanna miss you tonight. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. And you can't fight the tears that ain't coming, all the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies, yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am.
Charlie, you want to say a couple of things, and then I'm going to pray, and then you're going to sing something for us.
Yeah, I'm Charlie. Now for the truth. No. It was an absolute joy growing up, you know, out of Bunbury and on the farm. And I was thinking about the bike story just this morning. Actually, we went out for a ride and we're going down Stevenson's Road down towards the Tambo Upper Bridge where the school is, and we're going down that hill and we're riding down, and all of a sudden I hear this, "I got no brakes." And back in those days, the bridge at the bottom wasn't all that flash. They've got a concrete one there now, I think. So how he navigated over the boards, divine intervention, I would expect. We grew up on we had lots of similar loves. We grew up on a steady diet of the Goodies and the Goons, Monty Python, of course. And the house that we lived in, like, my family was up one end and the Clarks was down the other, and you'd sort of walk down there and down the corridor, and Robin Dorothy's bedroom there, and there was Caffey's, and then Bruce's there, and on the other side was the Twilight Zone. And I still hear, you know, Rod Sterling from the Twilight Zone doing that wonderful introduction when you'd go in there, and you know you'd get lost in there for days, and they'd send search parties in there for you. But it was just a wondrous wonderland to be in, you know. And I was thinking about it this morning, and I was thinking of Rod Sterling saying that you're about to enter another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind, you know. And I thought that was just so spot on, you know. Talking about a giver, there was this time when we used to catch a school bus and we'd walk up to Wilson's Lane and catch the bus, and Dickie Wren, our bus driver, would come along and pick us up, and he had this I think it was an old Comma or something, I think back in those days before he got the new one. But Craig drew this picture of his bus with caricatures of us hanging out the windows, and he gave it to Dickie Wren, and Dickie Wren just thought it was the most amazing thing that he'd ever received in his life. And years later, I was in Bairnsdale, I was walking up Taylor Street, and Dickie Wren used to live up there, and I was walking past there, and he was having a barbecue or something out back, and I was walking past, went, "Hey, Dickie, how you going?" He goes, "Well, Charlie, get in here now," you know, and I went, "Oh, yeah." And he was known for the odd expletive, and and so I go in there and he said, "Come and look at this." And he took me in his house and went into the lounge room. He said, "Look at that." And he had Craig's picture on the wall, all framed in the lounge room up on the wall. He said, "Isn't that magnificent?" He thought it was the most beautiful thing, you know. And when I saw it, I just went, wow, you know. So, yeah, that's many more memories, but it's
Thanks.
Not quite the time of day.
Charlie's going to take us out in a moment. I just want to pray, and then Charlie can sing. God, we thank you for Craig's life, for the friendships that he's shared, the laughter that he's brought, the care and encouragement he showed to others. Thank you for his creativity and how he imagined worlds and creatures in miniature form, that he brought them to life in 3D models with skill and ease so that others could enjoy what he first imagined in his head. Thank you for the gift that you put upon his life. A gift from you, God, who also imagined worlds and creatures and creations and brought them into existence. And help us today and in the weeks and the months ahead with our sense of grief and loss at Craig's passing, and help us by comforting us. Help us to comfort each other to be aware of each other's needs and to support each other. And I thank you that you didn't make us to live life alone, that we are to be connected to one another. We actually are designed to be connected to you. But God, I just pray that we would be an encouragement to each other. Ring each other up sometimes, just say, how you going? How you going? Ask the question. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Hey, hey, what will you create today? Hey, hey, where is your mind at today? Is it swirling in some colorful dream? Is it in a place only you can see? Hey, hey, where will you take me today? Hey, hey, what will you create today? Hey, hey, where is your mind today? Is it swirling in some colorful dream? Is it in a place only you can see? Hey, hey, where will you take me today? Hey, hey, where will you take me today?